Well, hello again. Let's have a preview of what's to come in 2025 while you go on a little trip for the last paddle of 2024 to midwinter in the UK. Nice. First up, Audio Flare have very kindly given us a couple of LED flares which we'll be looking at and reviewing in detail. You see those inside and out and give them a thorough workout in a later video when I've had a chance to play with them. So next up, a quick look at some stats around the channel with 993 subscribers, 12 uploads during 2024, so averaging one a month, and ultimately by reaching the magic 1,000 subscribers we have the opportunity to monetize the channel. What that means for you, I would like to think, is it's all a whole lot more sustainable in terms of paying for cameras, software, and perhaps even some decent music. So while it sounds corny, any likes, any subscribes, any sharing, all that interaction does help, and it will help the channel grow and it will help this content improve. That's all the plug-in for now. So meanwhile, the trip you can see going on, this is from Tanner's out to the Needles and back, and it's actually the first time Zoran has ever been to the Needles, so it's a good one from his point of view, and it's also the first time in a good long while that Joshua's come with us. This is Joshua. He's racing along here in the Perception Carolina. Now apparently he was actually trying to keep up with me there, I didn't realise that. So he's putting the pressure on, trying to race the Valkyrie, and didn't quite make it, so that was a shame. Not. Got to do the touch test, prove you did it. And there's Joshua getting his breath back. So all up, this trip was 26.5 Ks, and this is, as mentioned, midwinter, so the day and the water are not warm. Now one of us takes a midwinter impromptu swim, so feel free to place your bets and see who that might be later on in the video. This is Captain Chris. He's in the dented dolphin. If you haven't seen the previous video on why it's a dented dolphin, then perhaps you should. And others here are Duncan and Zoran, both in Valkyries. How could anyone want more? So being midwinter, there's an awful lot less traffic than you'll typically see on the Solent. However, we did see a few bits and pieces, including, there's a couple of little fizz boats there, but most interestingly, we did see what we think is the SBS, or Special Boat Service. We only think so because they wouldn't tell us who they were, so there you go. Can't have everything. There's me, spotted them now. Who's that over by the cliff? So another fine example of the resolution on the Insta360 X3 when you zoom in from afar. It's a bit rubbish. And the wavy line on the horizon is the stitching line through the dive case. But they did come out of the shadows for us, and there you go, that's what it looks like. They just headed out beyond the Needles and sat there drifting, messing about. A couple of jet skis came over to meet them, so there was no James Bond stuff that we spotted at least. So a quick pause to regroup because I'd got ahead trying to keep pace with these SBS chaps, and the others were getting a wee bit behind, so I'll sit here, ponder the universe while they catch up. Yeah, it's not a bad photo. It does get corny, we see it a lot, and I beg forgiveness if you're bored with seeing it on these videos, but I'll still be going out there a lot, so you'll probably see more of it. Might need to get over that. So we're turning up at the Needles. As you've seen, it's a really calm day, conditions are really calm, however you'd still get a little bit of a swell once you get past the shelter of the island. You're getting towards the rocks now into open water. So you see the swell creeping around, and that is breaking to my right there over the barely covered rocks just off my right hand. And that black blob dead ahead is that SBS boat out there drifting aimlessly. So I'm now past. I'll probably pause to regroup just around where the wreck sits, just below the surface. Joshua there coming up. He's having a little play in the splash. And here's me naively thinking, I hope Zoran stays clear of that rock. So there's the rock marked by another wave breaking over it. And here's Zoran. Final approach. And he's straight over the top of it. By good luck, he must have had water there as well, because he kept his rudder and he stayed in it. That's probably the one spot I'd at least wanted to go to. Straight over the rock. I was just saying to Joshua, I hope he's not going to go straight over the rock though. It is. Importantly, on these trips we always find time to take the mick out of each other and have a laugh at each other's expense. A quick view back against the Needles. This is Joshua's boat. He's parked more or less over the wreck, and that is Zoran. Made it on his first ever trip to the Needles. Remaining now is a line up for a quick corny photo, because you can. And it looked like that. And again. And with that, our work at the lighthouse is done, so we'll find our way back. So normally on a day with conditions as benign as this, a stop on Scratchels would have been good, or even round through the caves towards freshwater would also be pretty good. However, this is midwinter, the days are short and we are racing the daylight, and you'll see towards the end we were running out of daylight. So while we wiggle on through the gap, quick touch on what we're expecting through 2025. That will include a trip to Scotland. Really keen to do Lundy Island, probably the Scilly Isles again, all in UK of course if you're not here. Other external trips could include Malta and Croatia. Really want to do those, but it's all got to be fitted around my day job and weather and who's available and when. I still haven't done these Red Sands forts. I'm planning to do that. I'm looking again for a time when daylight, tide times and crew available all fits ideally on a weekend. But the plans are all there. You will be seeing all of this, and no doubt some more downwinders, needles and interesting products and kit that we'll play with along the way. So visible ahead where the darker skyline is, that is Alum Bay, and that will be the destination for the day's Sandwich Festival. This wee gap here, this is one you don't often get the chance to paddle through here. Even on a calm day, the tide's usually racing through here, so to have slack tide and calm conditions like this, it's a treat. Why not go for it? And as a wee demonstration of how that can look, this is a different day with the southerly swell smashing through the gap there. Very different day, and not one to paddle across, unless of course you're out for adventure. Approaching and landing on Alum Bay, notably avoiding the exorbitant parking charges. Drag the boat up, and of course some corny photos for the team arriving on the beach. I didn't have footage of us sitting there enjoying a sandwich on the beach, but with the glory of AI I've reproduced it and it looks something like this. Beautiful. Shame you missed that. So sandwich is done, AI belly's packed away, we're out of there, leave the beach. You get cold sitting around, so it's good to move on. Captain doing some little thrusts there to get off the beach, 10 points. Regroup again off the beach. Barge through their conversation, coming through chaps. And we'll make our way to the middle of the channel for the maximum tide to drag us back to the van. There's some novel effects you get from the tide, so it goes from glassy smooth to a bit lumpy, sometimes a lot worse, but obviously not today. But the change is really sudden, and you see that some days it will go from one extreme to the other. The bulk of the traffic, one boat, the massive wave, couldn't surf that. But clearly here we're smack in the middle of the channel, getting the fastest ride home. That's Hurst on the left, Fort Albert now on the left, so that is the narrow part, fastest flow. Off Yarmouth, bit more traffic, they were going into Lymington from memory. And here it's getting a bit dusk, a bit murky. I've got my little light. Joshua's camera on this red boat actually makes it look lighter than it is. It's compensated way better than the X3. He's using the X2. And we are more or less on a final approach into Tanner's when Joshua came up with this genius idea. He wanted to do a roll. It's been a while. So I'll take his hat. I'll take his pogies. And he wants to show off his roll. Beautiful calm evening, getting quite murky. Oh, flipping heck, there he goes. And there he goes again. And there he still goes. I've moved my bow in so he can grab that and pull himself up, but he actually popped out of the skirt anyway. You can look back at the video, it looks like he never set the paddle up. And to prove he can do it, that's a better one. But in reality, my guess is the cold water has taken its toll and he was focused on getting out of the water and not sorting his paddle out. What this does highlight really is the value of practicing your rescues rolls frequently and in all conditions. And I'm the worst offender. When it's cold, there's no incentive to go for a swim. So the rescue was a little bit unconventional. I had envisaged a heel hook, but I obviously didn't really explain what I was after, and this is what we got. But ultimately he's back in the boat. He's still smiling. He's a bit wet and cold, but I'm sure he'll get over that shortly. And we'll make our way back to the beach and to the van. So really on the edge of the daylight now as we pull back to the beach, so any longer we would have been needing more lights. So that is a midwinter paddle complete with an unplanned swim at the very end of 2024. So as always, GPS track is coming up, and stay with us because there will be much more coming through 2025. Now back at the van, sort our stuff out, Joshua can peel his wet undies off. And that is the trip, Tanner's out to the Lighthouse and back. 26 k's, it was about 3.5 hours paddling round trip, plus time and gorging ourselves on the beach. So thanks again for all your support through 2024 and looking forward to 25.